There is a psalm in the Hebrew Bible that many families have quietly read when money trouble sat heavy in the house, not someday, not far away, but with hope for a change to begin fast. And the surprising part is this: it is not the psalm most people expect. It is not the one people quote on posters. It is not the line you hear repeated so often that it loses its weight. It is a psalm spoken with purpose, at a certain hour, with a certain heart. And today I want to share that full practice with you in a new, simple way, because maybe this message reached you for a reason. Be honest for a second. Have you ever gone through a season where no matter how hard you worked, the money still slipped through your hands? You try, you push, you wake up early, you cut back, you do your best. Still, by the end of the month, it feels like nothing stays. Bills swallow everything. A repair shows up. A health expense appears. Something breaks. Something is due. Something takes the little that was left. If that has been your life, hear this clearly. It does not always mean you are careless. It does not always mean you failed. Sometimes it feels deeper than math. It feels like something keeps blocking the flow. And if you stay with me, because this next part matters, I am going to show you the exact psalm, the exact way to speak it, and the reason people believe it can shift the atmosphere of a home. In old Jewish teaching, there is a word for livelihood and daily provision, a word that points to the stream of supply that comes from God to each living person. The idea is simple but powerful. Your share of provision exists, but what is assigned to you still has to reach you. Think of water moving through a pipe. The source may be full, clear and flowing, but if the pipe is blocked, the water barely comes through. You turn the handle and get a weak trickle. That is how many people feel in hard times. Not empty at the source, but blocked along the way. And for a very long time, people have believed that sacred words, spoken with faith, can help clear that blockage. Not through magic, not through a show, through alignment, through intention, through speech that brings the heart, the mind, and the home into one line. The psalm at the center of this practice is Psalm 23. Yes, that one, the familiar one. And maybe that is exactly why so many people miss its force. They hear it at funerals. They see it printed on cards. They know the rhythm but not the fire inside it. So listen again with fresh ears. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In simple words, that means, because God guides me, lack does not own me, need does not define me, poverty does not get the final word in this house. That is not soft poetry, that is a statement, a stand, a line drawn in the unseen world, and you are going to want to hear what comes next, because the way this is spoken is just as important as the words themselves. The practice is not just to read the psalm quietly and move on. It is to stand in your home before sunrise and speak it out loud with calm strength. Not screaming, not mumbling, not rushing, just a full, clear voice that means what it says. Why before the sun rises? Because many old spiritual traditions teach that the last stretch of darkness before dawn is a time of deep openness, a thin and quiet hour when the heart is alert and the soul is easier to steady. It is the kind of time when distractions are low and your words seem to land harder. There was once a woman in deep financial stress who was told to do exactly this. She lived simply, worked hard, and still kept falling short. Every month felt like a race she could not win. Then an elderly woman told her, "Stand before dawn and read Psalm 23 as a declaration, not as decoration." So she did. Each morning before the day pulled at her mind, she stood in her kitchen and read the psalm slowly. She did not perform, and she said that even before anything changed outside, something shifted inside. The tightness in her chest eased, the fear lost some of its grip, and soon after, an old work opportunity returned in a better form than before. Was that magic? No. The teaching is not that words force heaven to move like a machine. The teaching is that true words can bring a person into agreement with the help already waiting to reach them. Keep listening, because the next verse changes everything. There is one line in Psalm 23 that many people pass over too quickly, and it may be the key line for this whole practice. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Most people hear that and think of human enemies, difficult people, critics, those who stand against them. But there is another way to hear it. Sometimes the enemy is not a person. Sometimes the enemy is the pressure, the fear, the shame, the old failure, the voice that says you will always live under strain. Sometimes the enemy is the constant accusation inside your own mind. You missed your chance, you are too late, you are too broken, you do not deserve better. But look at the line closely. It does not say the enemies vanish first and then the table appears. It says the table is prepared in their presence. That means provision can arrive while the pressure is still there. Peace can come before every problem is solved. Help can enter your house while the bills are still on the counter. The table is not delayed until life becomes perfect. That is the power of the image. God sets the table anyway. Right there, right in front of everything that tried to talk you out of hope. So when you reach that verse, pause, close your eyes for a moment. Picture a table in your home. See it covered with what you need: food, stability, open doors, wise ideas, unexpected support, honest work, new chances, enough for today and enough to breathe. Then say it out loud in simple words. This provision is for me, and what is meant for me will not be stolen. Stay with me, because there is one more part, and it may be the deepest part of all. The final piece is not only about speaking, it is also about opening the flow through action. Many old teachings compare blessing to a river. A river moves best when it has somewhere to go. If it is blocked, it backs up. If it is allowed to flow, it stays alive. In that same way, many people believe that one of the ways to welcome provision is to become a giver, even in a small way, even before you see the breakthrough. This is where giving becomes part of the practice. Not because you can buy a miracle, not because a small gift controls heaven, but because giving loosens fear. Giving says, I believe lack is not my master. It says I refuse to live with a closed fist and a closed heart. In Hebrew tradition, the common word for charity is tied to justice and right action. It is not only kindness, it is setting something back into proper order. There is an old story about a man who had very little and still chose to help a struggling family out of his own pocket when no public fund was left. He gave until it hurt, and the teaching drawn from that story is not merely that he did a nice thing. It is that when a person opens themselves in mercy, they often open a wider path for mercy to reach them too. That is why this practice includes a simple step. Before sleeping, set aside a coin, a note, any amount you can give the next day to someone in need or to a worthy cause. The amount is not the point, the heart is the point. And don't click away, because now I'm going to lay out the full flow from beginning to end in a way you can actually use. Here is the full practice in plain language. The night before, take a small amount of money and place it in an envelope, a jar, or a small box. As you set it aside, say something simple like, I am making room for good to flow. Then wake before sunrise. Stand somewhere in your home. Your kitchen is fine. Your living room is fine. A quiet corner is enough. Open Psalm 23 and read it out loud from start to finish. Slowly, clearly, let the words settle. When you speak the first line, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, pause and say, lack has no final power in this home. When you come to the line about green pastures and still waters, let yourself breathe. Let your body feel what rest sounds like. When you reach, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Stop again and picture that table in front of you. See provision made visible. Then say, what is prepared for me will reach me. When you say my cup runs over, place your hand on the envelope or box and say, as I give, I stay open. As I stay open, good can flow. Then finish the psalm with calm confidence, especially the final line about goodness and mercy following you all your days. Do not rush to check your phone right after. Sit with it for a moment. Let the words ring in the room. And later that day, give away what you set aside. Quietly, simply. No show, no pressure, just the act. That is the full rhythm. And the reason it matters is because it weaves together speech, vision, and action into one living practice. These three parts belong together. First comes declaration. You speak the psalm because words shape inner reality. They steady the mind, they shift attention, they challenge fear. They remind you that your story is not owned by panic. Then comes vision. You picture the table because the mind often lives where it looks. If your thoughts live only in shortage, shame and dread, then even when help appears, you may not recognize it. But when your mind learns to hold an image of provision, peace, and open doors, you begin to stand differently. You begin to listen differently. You notice chances you would have missed. You carry yourself with more trust. Then comes action. You give, even in a small way, because action seals what speech begins. Action tells your soul that your prayer is not a performance. It is a posture. This is why so many people find the practice meaningful. It touches the mouth, the imagination, and the hand all at once. And when those three line up, something deep can change. Maybe not always in a dramatic movie scene, maybe not always with instant money at the door, but often with a chain of changes that begins quietly, a calmer mind, a new idea, a repaired connection, a delayed bill turning easier than expected, a job lead, a callback, an open path that was closed last week. If you have stayed with me this far, you already feel that this is about more than repeating lines. It is about re-entering hope with intention. And the next part is important, because many people make one mistake that drains the practice of its power. The mistake is treating the psalm like a lucky charm instead of a living prayer. If you read it with one eye on the clock and the other on your fear, nothing inside you has room to move. The point is not speed. The point is agreement. The point is not superstition. The point is sincerity. Say the words like someone who is done bowing to panic. Say them like someone who still has tears maybe, still has questions maybe, still has unpaid things maybe, but refuses to let darkness write the final sentence. This matters because true prayer is not pretending trouble is gone. It is speaking truth while trouble is still in the room. That is why the image of the table matters so much. Provision does not need to wait outside until everything looks perfect. It can appear in the middle of your unfinished life. It can stand in front of your fear and say, I am here too. And let me add this, because someone listening needs to hear it. This practice is not a reason to stop working, stop planning, or ignore wisdom. It is not a replacement for effort. It is a way to clear your spirit, so your effort stops coming from pure fear. It is a way to move through the day with steadier hands and clearer sight. Sometimes the first miracle is not money. Sometimes the first miracle is peace. And from that peace come better choices, stronger focus, and open eyes. So if this is speaking to you, don't just say that sounds nice and move on. Lean in. The final stretch of this message may be the one that stays with you long after the video ends. Imagine tomorrow morning. The house is quiet. The sky is still dark blue. Everyone else is asleep, or the world is at least softer than it usually is. You stand there with Psalm 23 open in your hands. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you are worried. Maybe a part of you wonders if any of this can really help. And still you read, line by line, word by word, the Lord is my shepherd, guidance, I shall not want, enough. He leads me beside still waters, peace. You prepare a table before me, provision. My cup runs over, overflow. Goodness and mercy shall follow me, pursuit. That is what the psalm builds inside you if you let it. It moves you from fear to image, from image to trust, from trust to readiness. And readiness matters, because many answers arrive quietly. Through a message, through an idea, through favor, through timing, through a person who remembers you at the right moment, through strength to do what fear kept delaying, through wisdom that saves what would have been wasted. Sometimes change enters like thunder, sometimes it enters like a door unlocking in the next room. But either way, the one who speaks these words with faith is no longer standing only inside a problem. They are standing inside a promise too. And that changes the atmosphere. It changes the way a room feels. It changes the way a person carries the day. Don't miss this. The power is not in noise. The power is in alignment. And when the heart, the words and the action agree, many people have found that the heaviness starts to lift. So tonight, if you want to try this, keep it simple. Set aside your small gift. Say a short prayer over it. Go to sleep with intention, not panic. Then rise before sunrise and speak Psalm 23 out loud in your home. Do not perform it. Mean it. Let the first line push back against lack. Let the table line build a picture in your mind. Let the overflowing cup remind you to stay open, not closed. Then give your small gift later that day and move through the hours expecting peace, wisdom and provision to find a way in. That expectation is not foolish when it is rooted in faith and matched with action. It is a form of readiness. It is the soul setting the table on its side too. And if you are thinking, can it really begin to shift in 24 hours? The honest answer is this: no one can control God like a formula. But many people believe a real shift can begin the moment the heart turns, the words go out, and the grip of fear starts to break. Sometimes the outer sign follows fast. Sometimes it unfolds step by step. But the movement can begin now, right now. That is the invitation, not to chase hype, not to worship money, but to welcome provision, peace, and right order back into your space. If this message reached you at the exact time you needed it, hold on to that. Sometimes timing is part of the answer. And before you leave, take this with you in the simplest form possible. Speak the psalm, see the table, open the flow. That is the whole rhythm. Speak the psalm so your home hears something stronger than fear. See the table so your mind has a picture bigger than lack. Open the flow so your hands agree with your prayer. Then keep going, keep working, keep planning. Keep thanking God for every sign of help, no matter how small it first appears. Because small signs often become larger stories. A little peace can become clear direction. Clear direction can become wise action. Wise action can become stable provision. Stable provision can become overflow, and overflow can become generosity again. That is how the cycle turns. Not by panic, by trust, truth, and open-handed living. So if this touched something in you, say it quietly to yourself today. My provision is flowing. Not because you see every answer already, but because you are choosing not to close the door before the answer arrives. Send this message to someone carrying silent money stress. You never know which word will reach a person at the exact second they needed hope. And may your home be filled with peace, your table be covered with enough, your mind rest from fear, and your heart remember that you are not forgotten. Today, tomorrow, and in every season ahead, may good find its way to your door.